Now, I'm actually delighted that this is wonderful for me to be reading poems in the company of my favourite gender, the female gender, you know, so I feel very privileged. So it's great that too that I can, I selected it, know that I would be reading with all women tonight. And these are some poems I translated from the Spanish of Rosalía de Castro, the Galician poet. Now, the date is 1863. They were difficult to do because we have to think of kind of, you know, Spanish Romanticism then. But they're just very quickly. She was born into an upper middle class family with a patriarchal father figure. The mother fell in love with a cleric, had Rosalía by him, and he disappeared off the scene. No way could Rosalía go back to the family. So he, the father, disappears. We know nothing about him except that the one thing he did was he handed Rosalía over to a sister of his who reared her till she was 6 or 7 until her grandfather, this patriarch, died, and the mother who loved Rosalía could get her back. And you know, Rosalía never felt anything but the greatest passion for her mother. So these are a short sequence of poems dedicated. It's just, you know, a mi madre, to my mother. The hot season now over, rough, fierce, harsh-faced winter lifts its head above what's left of the withered flowers. Now the blue of a clear sky spreads its wings of dismal hue, like an impious thought over a chaste mind. And the wood groans, and the torrent roars, and the dry leaf turned to mush gives its beloved zephyr a last and grieving goodbye. Wandering, fugitive, mysterious, the clouds take their swift flight, not as once artless and fair, but laden with spite and grief. Further on, always forward, tirelessly they pursue their course, their pale visage bathed in those tears that drench the wood and the meadow. How angry the sea where they're mirrored, and darken the sun that loved them. They can only say while sighing, for us things are ended. Clothes and hair loose to the wind as they gather around the moon. Crazy in incessant movement, they mimic fortunes to and fro. They pass, return, and race unbound, the air's children in fickle form, abandoned to the wind of night and the deep and awesome dark. So, in my sorrowing heart, restless and wild expectations stirred, and held by pleasure's feeble thread, wild, they also broke. Now all light grew dark in the sky, enveloping the stars in morning. And morning too covered the earth, among breezes, groans and gripes. All things in deep night's drowsiness, only the whirlwind's blast is heard, and its rasping whistle mimics the serpent's vicious hiss. What a dismal night comes on. But under the shelter of a loving roof, it's pleasant to think the horrid storm will never stir my bed's counterpane. But what a strident and magical howl the storm's raucous voice brings. Sad, vague, constant and aggrieved, it falls burning like fire inside me. It falls and chases sleep far from my bed. Ah, how could I sleep? It would be madness and foolhardy to attempt to go to sleep amidst such horrid shrieks. How indeed could I sleep? That lament, that shout of anguish I perceive, that expression of bitter distress does not belong to the world I live in. where the erect cypress rises in a distant dark room that awes the boldest on the earth, solitary, my gentle mother sleeps. Her bed is icier than snow, blacker and deeper than a dark cave. The haughty breath that stirs its hollows slakes its wrath with wanton rage. Ah, surrounded by gloomy willows, by rough nettles and hard grass, what vague, hostile shadows, mother, may trouble your rest. And must I calmly enjoy an easy sleep and a loving bed, while you, struck by death's fright, dwell in the dark's depths? Will oblivion reach that far? Is man's ingratitude so great it always yields as bonds slacken to the to and fro of change? A child's base and odious deed, whom the dear mother in her throes blessed with kisses and caresses, forgetful of the pain she died in. This one I like particularly. God forbid I should forget you, my saint, my loving companion. God forbid I should forget you, though I should die remembering you. Let your dear image come to me and speak to my soul in its mute tongue, or in a serene and restful night, or in a harsh night winter brings. And in your wild, forlorn isolation, alien to man and his folly, let my weeping and my sorrow keep vigil at your humble grave. The saddest shadow, indefinable and vague, like painful things, moves always before my eyes, ceaseless pursuer of a shadow in ceaseless flight. Their intent is closed to me, but I fear I don't know why. On seeing their deadly greed, they will never halt, nor ever meet. And the last of the Rosalia poems. When the harsh north wind blows, and the fire burns in the hearth, and they pass by my door, thin, naked, and hungry, the cold freezes my spirit, as it must freeze their body. And on seeing them go, unconsoled, my heart's left like them, sad and oppressed, disconsolate like them. He was a child, yet one lost to the habit of tears. Need dries up the soul and also the eyes. He was a child, one who appeared by his deeds already old. A beggar's experience. It was precocious as evil, implacable as hatred, tough as truth.